AITA for cutting off my wife's credit card after she left with her ex and blamed me? I'm Frank, 42, and after 8 years of marriage, I knew Natalie well enough to tell the difference between privacy and secrecy. I was the husband who labeled leftovers so she wouldn't forget what was in the fridge, kept the shared calendar updated, and believed marriage worked better when nobody had to play detective. I was also the kind of man who gave people room to explain themselves before deciding what they were doing. That patience used to be one of the things Natalie said she loved about me. By the end, it was the thing she thought would keep me quiet. For most of our marriage, I never cared much about Natalie's past. Everybody has one. She had dated Evan years before me, and for a long time, he was just a name that drifted through conversations once in a while. An old college friend would post wedding pictures, or a song would come on in the car, and she'd say, "Oh, Evan used to love this band," and that was it. I never asked her to pretend he had never existed. I never believed being married meant she had to erase every person she knew before me. I had women in my past, too. None of them were threats because I didn't give them parts of myself that belonged to my marriage. That was why the beginning fooled me. Natalie told me Evan had messaged her after a breakup. She said he was in a bad place and had reached out because she was one of the few people who knew him before everything got messy. She said it while we were folding towels in the living room, casual enough that it didn't feel like a confession. "He's doing that thing where he says he's fine but clearly isn't," she said, rolling a washcloth into a crooked little bundle. I looked over at her. "You good with that?" She shrugged. "I mean, it's a little weird, but I feel bad ignoring him." "Just keep it respectful," I said. She smiled like I had said something obvious. Of course. For a few weeks, that seemed to be the whole story. Evan sent old memes, asked about people they used to know, and made jokes I didn't understand because I wasn't there for that chapter of her life. That was fine. I hadn't been there for every version of Natalie, and I didn't need to own every memory she had. Then her phone started landing face down whenever I walked into the room. At first, I told myself not to be ridiculous. A phone could land face down by habit. People were allowed to laugh at messages. Not every pause was proof of something. So I watched myself before I watched her. But the pattern got harder to ignore. She'd be sitting at the kitchen island, smiling down at her screen, and the second I walked in, she would swipe away from the conversation. She started taking her phone into the bathroom during showers, which she used to mock other people for doing. Message previews vanished from her lock screen, but only for one thread. One night, I saw Evan saved as just E before she angled the phone away. I didn't explode. I asked. We were cleaning up after dinner when her phone buzzed 3 times on the counter. She glanced at it, smiled, and flipped the screen down with 2 fingers like it had burned her. "Is that Evan?" I asked. "It's nothing." "That's not what I asked." Her shoulders tightened. "Yes, Frank. It's Evan. He sent a stupid meme." "Why turn the phone over?" She dropped a plate into the dishwasher too hard. "Because I knew you'd make a thing out of it." I leaned against the counter and looked at her for a second. I asked one normal question. "No, you asked it with that tone." "What tone?" "The husband tone." I almost laughed, but not because it was funny. "What does that mean?" "It means you're acting like I need permission to talk to people." That was the first time she turned a question into an accusation. I didn't recognize it then as a strategy. I thought she was embarrassed and being defensive. I let it go, but something in me stayed alert after that. The first real lie came on a Saturday. Natalie put coffee catch-up on our shared calendar. We used that calendar for everything: dentist appointments, oil changes, dinners with friends, even reminders to buy dog food for Brooke, Natalie's younger sister, when Brooke traveled. The calendar wasn't surveillance. It was the system that kept our lives from collapsing into missed bills and forgotten plans. That morning, Natalie said she was meeting a couple of old friends. She wore jeans, a cream sweater, and the earrings I gave her for our 6th anniversary. I noticed because I always noticed when she wore them. "Anyone I know?" I asked. "Not really," she said, grabbing her keys. "Just people from forever ago." I kissed her cheek. "Have fun." Around 3, I texted her because I was near the grocery store. "Need anything while I'm out?" She replied 20 minutes later. "Just heading home. Don't worry about it." That night, Brooke called while Natalie and I were on the couch. I had a bowl of chips in my lap and a game on that I barely cared about. Natalie answered on speaker at first, laughing when Brooke complained about a neighbor's dog. Then Brooke said, "So how was coffee with Evan?" Natalie froze. It was half a second, maybe less. But when you've lived with someone for 8 years, half a second can scream. She took the phone off speaker and walked into the hallway. I turned down the TV. When she came back, she set the phone down and reached for my bowl like nothing had happened. So it wasn't a group? I asked. Her face closed. Brooke misunderstood. Did you meet Evan alone? It was coffee, Frank. That's not what I asked. She stared at me. Yes, Evan was there. It was 1 hour, in public, and it meant nothing. Then why tell me old friends? Because I knew you would make it weird. That sentence stayed with me. Not because she had coffee with an ex. I didn't love it, but I could have talked through that. What bothered me was that she lied first, then used the reaction to the lie as proof that she had needed to lie. You didn't tell me because you knew it crossed a line, I said. She stood up. No, I didn't tell you because you're becoming controlling. There it was. One word, dropped in the middle of the room like a grenade. Controlling. I had never checked her phone. I had never told her where she could go. I had never told her who she could be friends with. But the second I asked why she had changed the story, I was controlling. After that, the word became her shield. I asked why Evan was saved as E. She said I was paranoid. I asked why message previews were turned off only for that conversation. She said she was allowed to have privacy. I asked why he was calling her at 11:40 at night. She said, people lose track of time. He's in the same time zone, I said. He knows what late is. She rolled her eyes. You hear yourself, right? Yes, I said. I hear myself asking why another man needs my wife at midnight. She shook her head like I was embarrassing her. He's going through something. So are we. That made her quiet for maybe 3 seconds. Then she said, he knew me before life got so complicated. I remember looking at her across the bedroom, with laundry piled on the chair and the lamp throwing a soft yellow circle across the carpet, and realizing she now saw our marriage as a complication. I'm not mad that he knew you, I said. I'm mad that you're acting like I'm the burden. She laughed without humor. This is exactly why I don't tell you things. No, I said. You don't tell me things because telling the truth would make it harder to do what you want. She left the room and slept on the couch. The next morning, she acted like I had started the fight. That was when I called Marcus. Marcus was one of those friends who didn't tell you what you wanted to hear just because you were upset. He had known me for years, and he had seen enough messy divorces through his own family to understand how quickly the calm person could get painted as the villain if they reacted the wrong way. We sat in his driveway drinking coffee from paper cups while he pretended to organize a toolbox he had already organized twice. I told him everything. The messages, the coffee lie, the controlling label, Evan's late calls. When I finished, Marcus didn't tell me to storm home. He didn't tell me to call Evan. He didn't even tell me to leave. He said, don't fight her vocabulary. Watch her actions. I rubbed my forehead. So I just let it keep happening. No. You stop trying to win arguments she's rigging. You protect yourself. How? Facts. Dates. Receipts. Screenshots of things you're allowed to see. Don't hack anything. Don't follow anybody. Don't grab her phone. Don't give her a story where you're the unstable one. I looked down at my coffee. It had gone cold. He added, and talk to an attorney before you make a big move. I hated that word. Attorney. It made the whole thing feel less like a rough patch and more like a door opening in the floor. Marcus must have seen it on my face because his voice softened. You can be heartbroken after you protect yourself, he said. But protect yourself first. The thing about realizing your marriage might be in danger is that your brain starts reviewing every ordinary moment like it was evidence. The way she smiled at her phone while I packed her lunch. The way she took calls in the hallway. The way she said, my friend, instead of Evan when she wanted the sentence to sound harmless. For 2 weeks, I said less and watched more. I didn't snoop. I didn't need to. The email arrived on a Tuesday night. Natalie and I had a shared household email for boring life stuff. Insurance notices, subscription renewals, warranty receipts, travel confirmations. We both had access to it because we both used it. That night, I was looking for a receipt for a small appliance that had started making a grinding noise when I saw a subject line near the top. Your wellness weekend confirmation. At first, I thought it was spam or some spa newsletter Natalie had clicked by accident. Then I saw the preview. 2 guests. Friday check-in. Sunday checkout. The names were Natalie and Evan. I sat at the kitchen table for a long time without moving. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and Natalie laughing softly in the bedroom at something on her phone. I opened the email. It wasn't a group retreat. It wasn't a conference. It wasn't a women's weekend. It was a 2-night reservation under a package called a reset retreat. The room had one king bed listed, though there was a note that a second bed could be requested at check-in. The deposit had gone on the shared credit card where I was the primary account holder. Part of the total had been covered with airline miles from the same rewards account we had used for anniversary trips. I didn't throw the laptop. I didn't yell. I took screenshots. I downloaded the confirmation as a PDF. I forwarded a copy to a private email Natalie didn't use. Then I took a picture of the charge pending on the credit card app. My hands were steady, which scared me more than shaking would have. Then I walked into the bedroom. Natalie was sitting against the pillows, hair twisted up, phone in hand. "Were you going to tell me about the retreat?" I asked. She looked up too fast. "What retreat?" I held up my phone with the confirmation on the screen. For once, she didn't answer immediately. Then she said, "It's not what you think. I think there's a 2-night reservation with your name and Evan's name on it, paid with our shared card and our miles. Tell me which part I'm misunderstanding." She sat up straighter. "It's a friend group thing." "Then why are there 2 guests listed?" "Because Evan handled the booking. With our card. I was going to reimburse it." "Natalie." "What?" "Stop lying to me in layers." Her mouth tightened. "You always turn everything into a trial." "No. I asked direct questions, and your story changed every time." "It's not romantic. You're making it weird." "That's not privacy," I said. "That's secrecy with a better outfit." She got out of bed and walked into the bathroom, still talking over her shoulder. "I needed space, Frank. That's allowed. With Evan. With people who understand me." She slammed the bathroom door, then turned the shower on like water could drown out consequences. I stood in the bedroom, breathing through my nose, when her laptop on the dresser lit up. I didn't touch it. I didn't move toward it. But message previews were showing because she had the family group chat mirrored there. Brooke's name appeared first. He's seriously mad, even though he already said yes. Then one of Natalie's friends. "Girl, he needs to pick a lane. Either he trusts you or he doesn't." My stomach tightened. Another preview appeared from Natalie, sent earlier. "Frank is upset, but he'll get over it. He always does." That was worse than the room confirmation. I could handle anger. I could handle embarrassment. I could even handle fear. But that sentence wasn't an emotional mistake. It was a calculation. She had built an audience before I even knew there was a show. Brooke thought I had agreed. Her friends thought I had changed my mind. Evan apparently thought he was walking into a weekend Natalie had already managed at home. I knocked once on the bathroom door. "You told people I agreed to this?" The water kept running. "Natalie." She opened the door a few inches, steam curling behind her. "I told them you knew." "That is not the same thing. You're being impossible." "You told them I agreed so if I objected later, I'd look unstable." She stared at me, and for a second, I saw panic. Then she covered it with contempt. "You're too stable to actually leave over this." There it was. Not love. Not remorse. A bet. She believed my patience was a cage I had built around myself. She believed I would stay because staying was what I did. She believed I would swallow the disrespect, get called insecure for tasting it, and then help her clean up the mess because I was reliable. I said, "If you go on that trip with Evan after this conversation, I will consider that you chose him over this marriage." She let out a sharp laugh. "You're not going to throw away 8 years because I went away for 2 days. Then don't test whether I mean it." She shut the door in my face. I didn't sleep much that night. I also didn't yell. I didn't call Evan. I didn't take Natalie's phone. I didn't threaten anything I couldn't actually do. At 5 in the morning, I got up, made coffee, and started doing the most unromantic thing a heartbroken husband can do. Paperwork. First, I saved the booking confirmation, the credit card charge, the airline points redemption, and screenshots of the calendar entry and the messages I had sent asking basic questions. I made a timeline with dates, not insults. Second, I called the credit card company. The shared card was in my name, and Natalie was an authorized user. I removed her access for non-household spending. I didn't empty our joint checking account. I didn't touch money for the mortgage, utilities, groceries, insurance, or any other household essential. I didn't leave her stranded without access to basic funds. I simply stopped my card from paying for a private weekend with her ex. Third, I moved my personal documents out of the house. Passport, birth certificate, old family photos, a watch my grandfather left me, copies of tax records. I put digital copies of financial statements in a secure folder. Fourth, I met with a divorce attorney for a consultation. I didn't file that day. I didn't walk in saying I wanted revenge. I wanted to understand what I could do without giving Natalie a way to turn the situation into something it wasn't. The attorney listened, asked a few sharp questions, and gave me the advice Marcus had already pointed me toward. Keep everything factual, she said. Do not editorialize. Do not threaten. Do not send angry paragraphs. If you communicate like a judge might read it one day. So I did. Friday morning, Natalie came downstairs with a small suitcase. She had done her makeup carefully, the kind of careful that looks effortless to everyone except the person who has watched you do it for years. She wore a soft blue sweater I used to like, and the same anniversary earrings from Coffee with Evan. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open. She stopped near the door. I'm leaving in 20 minutes. I know. She waited. I think she expected me to explode. Maybe she needed me to. If I yelled, she could leave feeling like the brave woman escaping a controlling husband instead of the wife walking out after being told exactly what it meant. I gave her one last chance. Natalie, I can't stop you from going. I'm not going to block the door. I'm not going to chase you. But I am telling you clearly, if you spend the weekend with Evan after lying about it, I'm done pretending this is just a misunderstanding. She adjusted the handle of her suitcase. You're being dramatic. No, I said. I'm being clear. You don't get to control where I go. I'm not controlling where you go. I'm deciding what I stay married to. Her eyes flickered, but only for a second. You'll calm down, she said. Then she walked out. The doorbell camera caught Evan pulling into the driveway 10 minutes later. He didn't get out. He didn't come to the door. He just sat behind the wheel like a teenager picking somebody up behind a parent's back. Natalie rolled her suitcase down the front walk, glanced once toward the camera, and got in. That image hurt, but it also helped. It ended the debate in my head. At 1:12 p.m., after I knew they were checked in or close to it, I sent Natalie one email and one text. The email was clean because I needed it to be clean. Natalie, I do not consent to our shared credit card, shared reward points, or any joint funds being used for travel, lodging, meals, upgrades, transportation, or entertainment connected to your weekend with Evan. I have removed your access to the card for non-household spending. Required household expenses remain covered. You were told clearly that this trip crossed a marital boundary for me. You chose to go anyway. We can discuss logistics when you return. Frank. The text was shorter. I didn't stop you from going. I stopped paying for it. She didn't answer for 2 hours. Then my phone exploded. Are you serious? Frank, pick up. The card declined at the desk. This is humiliating. Evan had to use his debit card, and now he's acting weird. Call me. I set the phone face down and didn't call. Then Brooke texted me. What did you do? Natalie is crying. I replied. Ask her who is on the reservation and who paid for it. Brooke didn't answer for 10 minutes. Then, she said it was a group thing. I wrote back. It isn't. Another pause. Frank, I thought you knew. I didn't know. That was the problem. I didn't send that. I just put the phone away. The weekend was quiet in a way that didn't feel peaceful. I washed the dishes. I cleaned the fridge. I threw out a container of pasta I had labeled 3 days earlier because neither of us had eaten it. I watched half a movie and remembered halfway through that Natalie had picked it months ago, and we never finished it. I was angry, but grief kept stepping in front of it. Saturday night, I got one message from Natalie that was different from the others. You embarrassed me in front of him. I typed 3 responses and deleted all of them. Then I wrote, you embarrassed our marriage in front of him. I stopped paying for it. She didn't reply. Natalie came home Sunday afternoon with swollen eyes and the kind of anger people use when shame is standing too close behind them. I didn't pick her up. She got a ride. Not from Evan, from what I later heard. Apparently, Evan had left early that morning after an argument about money, drama, and how he didn't sign up to be in the middle of someone's marriage. That line almost made me laugh when Brooke told me later. He had no problem being in the middle when it made him feel chosen. He only objected when the bill arrived. Natalie walked in, dropped her bag by the stairs, and said nothing. I was at the table with a cup of coffee. She looked at me like I was supposed to apologize first. I didn't. For 6 hours, she ignored me. She unpacked loudly. She closed cabinets harder than necessary. She took a shower and left the wet towel on the bed, which she knew I hated. I moved it to the hamper without comment. Then the group chat started. At first, it was Natalie writing a long message about needing space and being financially punished for it. She said I had known about the trip and waited until she was already there to embarrass her. She called it a scary wake-up call and said she never thought her husband would use money as a weapon because she spent a weekend away to clear her head. I read it twice. There were already replies. Locking the card is insane. She's allowed to have friends. Either you trust her or you don't. Frank, this doesn't sound like you. Brooke didn't say anything in the chat. That told me she was starting to question the version she had been given. By Monday evening, Natalie had somehow turned it into an in-person dinner. She said it would be better to talk like adults. I didn't want a public trial, but I understood why she did. She wanted witnesses. She wanted the room to watch me explain why a husband would lock a card while his wife was away. She wanted pressure, raised eyebrows, and soft voices saying maybe I had gone too far. So I brought Marcus. When Natalie saw him walk in with me, her mouth tightened. Really, she said. You invited an audience, I said. I brought one person who knows mine. The dinner was at a casual place with low lighting, sticky menus, and a server who clearly realized within 5 minutes that our table was trouble. Brooke was there, sitting beside Natalie but not leaning into her the way she usually did. A few shared friends came too, including the one who had texted Natalie about me needing to pick a lane. For the first 20 minutes, Natalie performed. She folded her hands on the table. She kept her voice soft. She looked wounded, not angry. I went on a wellness weekend with a friend because I needed space, she said. Frank knew I was going. Then he waited until I was already there and shut off the card. I had to stand at the hotel desk like some broke college kid because my husband wanted to punish me for not asking permission. One friend looked at me. Frank, you could have just trusted your wife. Another said, I get being uncomfortable, but locking the card was too far. Brooke finally spoke, quiet and careful. She's allowed to have friends. Natalie looked relieved. She had the room leaning her way. Then she made the mistake she always made when she thought she was winning. She added one more lie. He knew it wasn't romantic. I reached into the folder I had brought and took out the first page. I didn't slam it down. I didn't raise my voice. I placed it in the center of the table. Then let's stop pretending everyone here got the same story. The room went quiet except for forks clinking at another table nearby. This is the booking confirmation, I said. 2 guests, Natalie and Evan. Not a group. Natalie's face changed. I placed down the next page. This is the credit card charge. This is the points redemption from the travel account we used for anniversary trips. Nobody reached for their drinks anymore. I set down screenshots next. This is Natalie telling me it was a friend group thing. This is the calendar entry that says coffee catch-up when she met Evan alone. This is a message preview from Brooke asking why I was mad if I had already said yes. This is Natalie telling people, Frank is upset, but he'll get over it. He always does. And this one is Evan calling it our weekend. Natalie whispered, You're humiliating me. For the first time in weeks, I felt no urge to soften the truth so she would feel less exposed. No, I said. You lied in public. I corrected it in public. Brooke picked up the booking confirmation with both hands. Her eyes moved over the names, the dates, the guest count. Wait, she said. So there was no group? Natalie looked down. That silence did more than my whole folder. Brooke turned toward her sister. You told me he knew and then changed his mind. Natalie said, He did know. That is not what I asked, Brooke said. It was strange hearing my own sentence come from someone else. One of the friends who had been defending Natalie looked at the papers, then at me. Was Evan the only other person there? Yes, I said. Natalie snapped, because other people canceled. I looked at her. Names. What? Name one person who canceled. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Marcus leaned back in his chair and said nothing. He didn't need to. Then Natalie's phone lit up on the table. The timing was so bad it almost felt staged. Everyone saw Evan's name because, apparently, she had changed it back from E. After the trip as if that repaired anything. The preview said, Don't drag me into your marriage drama. I didn't sign up for this. Natalie snatched the phone off the table, but it was too late. The man she had defended, lied for, and risked our marriage for wouldn't even stand beside her when the story got uncomfortable. Brooke sat back slowly. She showed me screenshots. She said, mostly to herself. But not these. The rest of dinner was a slow collapse. Nobody yelled. Nobody threw anything. The server came by once, saw our faces, and asked if we needed more time even though the plates were already cold. Natalie cried quietly, but it didn't move the room the way she expected. Tears hit differently when they show up after the receipts. When we left, Natalie walked ahead of me to the parking lot. "You made everyone hate me," she said. "No," I said. "I let them hear what you actually did. You didn't have to embarrass your wife like that. I didn't have to pay for your weekend with Evan either. But you seemed comfortable with that part." She wiped her face hard with the back of her hand. "You're cruel." I was quiet, I said. "You mistook that for weak." The next day, Brooke called me. Her voice sounded smaller than usual. "I'm sorry," she said. I defended the version she gave me. "I know. She told me you had agreed, and then got weird after Evan's name came up. I figured. I thought you were being rigid. I didn't know she was lying to both of us." I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the dent where Natalie used to sleep. "I appreciate the apology, but I'm not looking for a team." "I know," Brooks said. "I just wanted you to hear it." Several friends backed away quietly after that. A couple texted apologies. One never did, which told me everything I needed to know about how much they liked drama when they weren't responsible for checking facts. Evan disappeared almost immediately. According to Brooke, he sent Natalie a long message about needing to focus on himself and not wanting to be the bad guy in someone else's story. Natalie tried to call him 3 times. He answered once, just long enough to say I was making him look like a homewrecker. That was the kind of man he was. He liked the ego boost of being chosen. He just didn't like being named. Natalie tried different versions of herself over the next week. First, she was furious. "You ruined my reputation. You handed me the facts," I said. "I stopped letting you edit them." Then she was wounded. "I can't believe you would expose private problems like that. You invited everyone into the private problem before I even knew there was a trip." Then she was soft. One night, she stood in the kitchen while I was rinsing a mug. Her hair was down, her face bare, and for a second, she looked like the woman I used to save the last slice of cheesecake for. The woman whose coffee order I still knew without thinking. The woman I had planned ordinary years with. "I didn't think you'd actually leave," she said. That one landed in the center of the room. I turned off the faucet. "That was the problem," I said. She started crying then, not loudly. Just tears slipping down her face while she stood by the counter like she didn't know where to put her hands. "I got caught up," she said. "He made me feel like I was still. I don't know. Like I mattered outside of bills and chores and calendars." I wanted to say I understood. A part of me did understand the human weakness under it. Everyone wants to feel chosen. Everyone wants to feel seen. But I hadn't stopped choosing her. I hadn't stopped seeing her. She had just started preferring the version of herself reflected in Evan's attention because it didn't require honesty, laundry, hard conversations, or consequences. "You could have told me you felt invisible," I said. "You chose to make me look like the enemy instead." She whispered, "Can we do counseling?" I didn't answer right away. The old Frank would have grabbed that sentence like a rope. He would have been relieved she was offering anything that sounded like hope. But by then, hope had to come with structure, or it was just another place for lies to hide. "I'll consider counseling under 5 conditions," I said. Her face tightened immediately. "Conditions?" "Yes." "That sounds cold." "Maybe it is." I counted them on my fingers because if I didn't keep it simple, she would turn the conversation into fog. 1. No private contact with Evan. 2. A written acknowledgement that the retreat was not a group trip and that you lied about my consent. 3. Repayment of every dollar and every point used for that weekend. 4. A message to the people you involved, correcting the story without blaming me. 5. A temporary financial agreement, so neither of us uses shared money without transparency while we decide what happens next. She stared at me like I had asked her to crawl across glass. "You want me to humiliate myself. I want you to tell the truth in the same places you lied." "That's not fair." "What part?" "All of it. You're treating me like a criminal. I'm treating you like someone who broke trust and wants access back." She walked away. Over the next 2 weeks, Natalie completed 2 of the 5 conditions. She repaid the money after her father, who had clearly gotten a sanitized version from her, asked one very simple question at a family lunch. Why would Frank pay for a trip with Evan? She also sent a message to the group chat. It said there had been confusion about the weekend, that I had not been comfortable with it, and that she should have communicated better. I read it while standing in the laundry room, holding a basket of towels. For a second, I almost let it go. I was tired. I was so tired of fighting over the difference between a mistake and a lie. Then I thought about the hotel lobby, the shared card, the anniversary points, the way she told people I had agreed, the sentence on the laptop. He'll get over it. He always does. I replied once. There was no confusion. There were lies. Then I left the chat. Natalie said I was impossible after that. She said no apology would ever be enough for me. Maybe she was right, but not in the way she meant. No apology without accountability was enough. No tears without truth were enough. No counseling where I had to pretend not to know what I knew was enough. 2 weeks later, I filed for divorce. I didn't do it because I wanted revenge. The revenge had already happened when Natalie had to face the cost of her choices without my wallet, my silence, or my reputation cushioning the fall. I filed because I finally understood that a boundary isn't real if I keep moving it every time someone cries. When she was served, she called me from Brooke's place. "You're really ending our marriage over one weekend?" she asked. Her voice was tired. Not angry this time. Tired. "No," I said. "I'm ending it because you thought one weekend was worth more than my trust." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I didn't think you'd do it." I know. That was the last honest thing between us. The house felt different after she moved out. Quieter, but not empty the way I expected. For a while, I still labeled leftovers out of habit. I still opened the shared calendar in the morning, except now it only had my appointments, my reminders, my life. Sometimes I missed her in stupid ways. I missed hearing her search through the same drawer every morning for a hair tie. I missed the way she hummed when she made coffee. I missed who I thought we were before Evan became less of a person and more of a spotlight she wanted to stand in. But I didn't miss wondering why her phone was face down. I didn't miss being called controlling for noticing a lie. I didn't miss paying for a version of the story that made me smaller every time she told it. I warned her once, not because I wanted control, but because I was giving her one last chance to choose our marriage without me begging for it. She thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.